everybody, and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, April the 12th, and time once again for the mailbag. I hope you guys have had a great week and a great weekend. Mine's been really good. I have been very much enjoying being productive again. You know, we seem to be back to this schedule of mailbag review, you know, some consistency, at least, you know, weekly on the channel. That feels really great. So, yay. I'm looking forward to doing some really good reading this week, especially since, as you know, I just got done reviewing the most hyped horror novel of the year and being very disappointed in it. So that was a shame, but I'm looking forward to some new stuff this week. Otherwise, I don't really have any announcements, except to say, if you remember from last week, I said I had a ton of eARCs that were being held over to do this week. Well, yeah, you're getting those, so this is a good long one. Settle in. Also, I do have 2 physicals that I got during the week in the mail, so we're going to lead with those and see what they are. So without any more yammering, let's get on with it. And the first of the physicals is this little package from Macmillan. Okay, nice. We are starting out with this physical arc that Tor.com has sent to me of Kirsten Hall's new novel, Star Eater. Comes out June the 22nd. I have already gotten this as an eARC, so at the time I really wasn't aware of just what a big chunk this thing is. It's like 440 pages, so good size novel. Loving it. All right. Anyway, what this says here is, with Star Eater, Kirsten Hall has created a wonderfully detailed high fantasy world that slides effortlessly into blood-drenched horror. That's how you get Thomas to read your book, right there. Elfreda never asked to be a sister. The role exacts a high price as guardians of the nation of Atrium. Sisters must defend their home with cannibalistic magic, consuming the flesh of their mothers as a sacrifice to the Star Eater. And while Elfreda is able to stomach the gruesome reality of her day-to-day duties, the prospect of propagating the Order's magical bloodline horrifies her. Pregnancy will kill her one way or another. If she's going to choose her own fate, Elfreda must question the power she was born into, and she leaps at the opportunity when a shadowy cabal approaches her with an offer of escape. As their spy, she finds herself buried ever deeper in the sinister conspiracies and political machinations of the Order, and a bit of romance complicates her personal life even further, okay? All right, so come for the cannibalistic magic, stay for the downfall of hereditary power. Right on. Star Eater by Kirsten Hall from Tor.com on June the 22nd. All right, this is interesting. The second of this week's physical arcs is a book called Sidewinders. It comes out July the 6th. It's by Robert V. S. Reddick. I'm familiar with him. He had a series back in the 2000s, I think. The Red Wolf Conspiracy or something like that. And the first book in this trilogy, Master Assassins, came out in 2018. And so it looks like it's taken him about 3 years to do the second book. But Sidewinders will be out, as I said, in July the 6th. The second novel in the First Sacraments trilogy. Reddick continues the story of the Hingeman brothers, Condry and Mektu, creating a thrilling epic fantasy. Thrillic. Well, that could be a new word meaning thrilling and epic. Together. No, it couldn't, Thomas. Shut up. So anyway, it's complex and unique. Readers catch up with the brothers as they dive into a lethal desert twice the size of the Sahara, replete with giant man-eating spiders, nomadic shapeshifters, carnivorous plants, while the death squads and magical servants of the tyrant they have wronged chase at their heels. Oh boy, sounds like those boys are having a day, doesn't it? Okay, it says, talking points. Sidewinders contains 3 worlds in one: the war-torn continent of Urath, the magical desert few dare venture into, and the micro-world of the caravan attempting to cross it, a pressure cooker ready to explode. Okay, the world of Sidewinders has suffered a terrible pandemic, and the people of Urath have been trapped within a 300-year quarantine. So nobody gets to whine anymore about 2020, all right? Well, then Sidewinders, the sequel to Master Assassins, will be out from Talos Press on July the 6th. Okay, that was definitely worth it. Now, we're going to do these eARCs, this big sea of eARCs, so everybody curl up. These are going to take us all the way from, well, one of them's already come out, but then we're going into the future all the way to November. And the first one of these comes from Orbit, I believe, and it is a novella by Megan O'Keefe, who wrote, I think, Velocity Weapon and some others. This has been out since the 30th of March, and it's called The First Omega. And it says Mad Max meets X-Men in this razor-sharp new dystopian novella by the Philip K. Dick Award-nominated author of Velocity Weapon. It doesn't matter what you call her, Riley, Burner, she forgot her name long ago. But if you steal from the supply lines crossing the wasteland, her face is the last one you'll see. She is the force of nature that keeps the balance in the hot, arid desert. Keep to yourself, and she'll leave you well enough alone. But it's when you try to take more than you can chew that her employers notice and send her off to restore the balance. Then she gets the latest call. A supply truck knocked over too cleanly, too precise, and the bodies scattering the wreckage weren't killed by her normal prey of scavengers. These bodies are already rotting hours after the attack. Cowering in the corner of the wreckage is a young girl, a girl that shouldn't be there, a girl with violently blue eyes, just like hers. And that's The First Omega by Megan O'Keefe, available now as a novella. I think it's digital only. And then after that, also from Orbit, we're going to move ahead to May the 4th when we get The Dragon of Jin Sooyang by K.S. Veloso. This is the third and final volume, I believe, in the Chronicles of the Bitch Queen trilogy. And let's see what it has to say. It says Queen Talyin, I guess, is finally home, but dangers she never imagined await her in the shadowed halls of her father's castle. War is on the horizon. Her son has been stolen from her, her warlords despise her, and across the sea, a cursed prince threatens her nation with invasion in order to win her hand. It's a weird way to, win somebody's hand. I'll invade your country. Worse yet, her father's ancient secrets are dangerous enough to bring Jin Sooyang to ruin. Dark magic tears rifts in the sky, preparing to rain down madness, chaos, and the possibility of setting her nation aflame. Bearing the brunt of the past and uncertain about her future, Talyin will need to decide between fleeing her shadows or embracing them before the whole world becomes an inferno. And that is The Dragon of Jin Sooyang. Started out with The Wolf of Oren Yarrow, and then the second book was The Icosar Falcon, and now this one. All right. So that is out May the 4th. And also, on May the 4th, we get one that I think a lot of people have been looking forward to a great deal. This is called Sorrowland, and it's the new novel by Rivers Solomon. Rivers Solomon, of course, wrote An Unkindness of Ghosts, an exceptional debut novel. And this one says, Vern, 7 months pregnant and desperate to escape the strict religious compound where she was raised, flees for the shelter of the woods. There she gives birth to twins and plans to raise them far from the influence of the outside world. But, even in the forest, Vern is a hunted woman. Forced to fight back against the community that refuses to let her go, she unleashes incredible brutality far beyond what a person should be capable of, her body racked by inexplicable and uncanny changes. To understand her metamorphosis and to protect her small family, Vern has to face the past and, more troublingly, the future outside the woods. Finding the truth will mean uncovering the secrets of the compound she fled, but also the violent history and America that produced it. River Solomon's Sorrowland is a genre-bending work of Gothic fiction. Here, monsters aren't just individuals, but entire nations. It is a searing seminal book that marks the arrival of a bold, unignorable voice in American fiction. And that is Sorrowland. It will be out, like I said, May the 4th. Now, moving ahead to May the 18th, we have the new book by Gareth Hanrahan. This is The Broken God, comes out from Orbit. And this is the third book in the Black Iron Legacy trilogy, which started with The Gutter Prayer and The Shadow Saint, and now we have The Broken God. Gareth Hanrahan is an Irish author. And it says, The Gods' War has come to Gerdon, dividing the city between the three occupying powers. A fragile armistice holds back the gods, but other dangerous forces seek to exert their influence. Spar Idjison, once heir to the Brotherhood of Thieves, has been transformed into the living stone of the new city, but his powers are failing, and the criminal dragons of the Girdana are circling. All right, then, so that is going to wrap up that trilogy on May the 18th with The Broken God. Now, okay, we have another one on May the 18th. This one interests me quite a bit. It's the new book by Ben H. Winters, who is an intriguing author. He wrote the Last Policeman trilogy. He does this fascinating way of blending different genres like speculative fiction and crime fiction and things like that. This is a book called The Quiet Boy. And it says, from the best-selling author of Underground Airlines and Golden State, this sweeping legal thriller follows a 16-year-old who suffers from a neurological condition that has frozen him in time, and the team of lawyers, doctors, and detectives who are desperate to wake him up. In 2008, a cheerful ambulance-chasing lawyer named Jay Schenk persuades the grieving Keener family to sue a private LA hospital. Their son Wesley has been transformed by a routine surgery into a kind of golem, absent all normal functioning or personality, walking in endless empty circles around his hospital room. In 2019, Schenk, still in practice but a shell of his former self, is hired to defend Wesley Keener's father when he is charged with murder. The murder, as it turns out, of the expert witness from the 2008 hospital case. Schenk's adopted son, a fragile teenager in 2008, is now a wayward adult, though he may find his purpose when he investigates what really happened to the murdered witness. Two thrilling trials braid together, medical malpractice and murder, jostling us back and forth in time. Interesting, and that is The Quiet Boy by Ben H. Winters on May the 18th. Now we're going to skip up a week to the 25th of May, and we get a new book by Natasha Pulley, who wrote The Watchmaker of Filigree Street, and then that one had a sequel. This is a new book called The Kingdoms, and it says it's for fans of The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle and David Mitchell, a genre-bending, time-twisting alternative history that asks whether it's worth changing the past to save the future, even if it costs you everyone you've ever loved. Joe Tournier has a bad case of amnesia. His first memory is of stepping off a train in the 19th century French colony of England. The only clue Joe has about his identity is a century-old postcard of a Scottish lighthouse that arrives in London the same month he does. Written in illegal English instead of French, the postcard is signed only with the letter M. But Joe is certain whoever wrote it knows him far better than he currently knows himself, and he's determined to find the writer. The search for M, though, will drive Joe from French-ruled London to rebel-owned Scotland, and finally onto the battle of ships of a lost empire's Royal Navy. In the process, Joe will remake history and himself. From best-selling author Natasha Pulley, The Kingdoms is an epic, wildly original novel that blends genre as easily as it twists time. And that is out on May the 25th. Now for June, we have a bunch of books. We're starting out with one that was on my anticipated science fiction list. It's a book called The Ninth Metal. The author is Benjamin Percy, and it's book one of something called The Comet Cycle. And it has gotten praise from guys like Marlon James and Victor Laval, so that's a good sign. It says it began with a comet. At first, people gazed in wonder at the radiant tear in the sky. A year later, the celestial marvel became a planetary crisis when Earth spun through the comet's debris field and the sky rained fire. The town of North Fall, Minnesota will never be the same. Meteors cratered hardwood forests and annihilated homes, and among the wreckage a new metal was discovered. This omnimetal has properties that make it world-changing as an energy source and a weapon. John Frontier, the troubled scion of an iron ore dynasty in North Fall, returns for his sister's wedding to find his family embroiled in a cutthroat war to control mineral rights and mining operations. His father rightly suspects foreign leaders and competing corporations of sabotage, but the greatest threat to his legacy might be the U.S. government. Physicist Victoria Lennon was recruited by the Department of Defense to research omnimetal, but she finds herself trapped in a laboratory of nightmares, and across town a rookie cop is investigating a murder that puts her own life in the crosshairs. She will have to compromise her moral code to bring justice to this now lawless community. In this gut punch of a novel, the first in his Comet cycle, Ben Percy lays bare how a modern-day gold rush has turned the middle of nowhere into the center of everything, and how one family, the Frontiers, hopes to control it all. All right, that just sounds very intriguing to me, and that is going to be out June the 1st. All right, now moving ahead, we have on June the 8th, the following week, a book called The Wayward Mage. This is by Sarah Hanover. It's from Daw Books, And this is the third book in a series called The Wayward Mages. And I admit I think I got the first one, and then I don't think they sent me the second one for whatever reason. But here's the third one. And so I guess it's one that I've sort of overlooked. But I kind of like the look of this one. It says, when her father disappeared into limbo 3 years ago, Tessa's world fell apart. It took her discovery of magic for her to begin to put things back together. But she hasn't been able to restore her father from his ghostly half-existence, and he's fading fast. Magic has a price, and Tessa is learning that it is both steep and deadly. The Phoenix Wizard who could train her has deserted Tessa. She has friends among the Iron Dwarves and Harpies, even a lesser demon, and the mysterious Malander with his sinister whip of thorns and fire, but she is still faced with a delicate balancing act. Then her mother incurs the wrath of the magical world when she writes a dissertation exposing its reality. That is the final straw as magic fights back and an assassin accepts a contract on their lives. Tessa must learn to master her new powers as a sorceress, or everyone and everything she loves is doomed. Okay, and that is The Wayward Mage by Sarah Hanover on June the 8th. And on June the 15th, from Ace Books, we have the latest in a long-running military science fiction series. This is a book called Boundless. The author is Jack Campbell. His real name is John Hemry. Way back in my website days, early website days, he and I actually had a correspondence because I was very fond of his books. And so I kind of miss that. I wonder, I guess he's doing well because he's done a lot better, more successful writing as Jack Campbell than he did under his original name. And so I'm very happy for that. This is the newest in the Lost Fleet series, this ongoing series. The premise basically is that you have had this military leader who has been in cold sleep for quite a long time, and then he is recovered in deep space, after centuries, only to find out that he has now become a figure of legend in this, interstellar, I guess, society. So, just this big military hero, and he kind of has to live this down and kind of come back to Earth and lead these people again. But this is a new series within that series called Outlands, and it's called Boundless. And this character, Blackjack Geary, he says he believed in the Alliance even when he uncovered overwhelming evidence that the highest echelons of the government and fleet command were involved in secret programs and prison camps. He believed it was worth saving, and that his duty was to see that justice was served even though some factions feared that revealing the truth would cause the Alliance to crumble. And that's another thing, too, that the reason I like Jack Campbell's military science fiction, where I don't like quite a lot of others, is that it's not this big jingoistic thing where, might always makes right. He has heroes that are very much willing to challenge the system, recognize that there are very, very, very many things wrong in the system, and it's not all, pew, 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 there we win, right? So yeah, Jack Campbell's Boundless, starting yet another round of books in the ongoing Lost Fleet series, is available June the 15th. All right, so now we're moving on to July. And July the 6th sees The Empire's Ruin by Brian Staveley. And this is the beginning of a new epic fantasy series that is set in the same world as his previous epic fantasy series, The Chronicles of the Unhewn Throne. And this one is called The Empire's Ruin. It says, the Anurian Empire is disintegrating. The advantages it used for millennia have fallen to ruin. The ranks of the Catral have been decimated from within. And the Kenta Gates, granting instantaneous travel across the vast lands of the Empire, can no longer be used. In order to save the Empire, one of the surviving Catral must voyage beyond the edge of the known world through a land that warps and poisons all living things, to find the nesting ground of the giant Warhawks. Meanwhile, a monk-turned-con artist may hold the secret to the Kenta Gates. But time is running out. Deep within the southern reaches of the Empire, an ancient godlike race has begun to stir. What they discover will change them and the Anurian Empire forever if they can survive. And so this one, as I said, will be out from Tor Books on July the 6th. Okay, so next up, we have a very busy day. On July the 13th, we're going to have at least 3 titles coming out on that day, worthy of note. The first of these is also from Tor, and it's called The Freedom Race by Lucinda Roy. Lucinda Roy is an author who has done some nonfiction, as well as some non-SFF. And this one says it's Lucinda Roy's explosive first foray into speculative fiction, a poignant blend of subjugation, resistance, and hope. In the aftermath of a cataclysmic civil war known as the Sequel, ideological divisions among the states have hardened. In the homestead territories, an alliance of plantation-inspired holdings, black labor is imported from the cradle, and biracial mule seeds are bred. Raised in captivity on Planting 437, kitchen seed jellybean Gigi Laudermule knows there is only one way to escape. She must enter the annual Freedom Race as a runner. Gigi and her friends must exhume a survival story rooted in the collective memory of a kidnapped people and conjure the voices of the dead to light their way home. All right. Cover makes it look like, YA dystopia. The plot does sound very much kind of like a YA dystopia mixed with, some very pointed racial commentary. But it is not YA. It is very much marketed to adults, and it will be out on July the 13th. From Tor Books. Now, next from Tor.com Publishing, we have one that I'm sure a lot of folks are looking forward to. And this is a new novella by Becky Chambers called A Psalm for the Wild Built. And I admit it does have a cute premise. It says, it's been centuries since the robots of Panga gained self-awareness and laid down their tools. Centuries since they wandered en masse into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Centuries since they faded into myth and urban legend. One day, the life of a tea monk is upended by the arrival of a robot, there to honor the old promise of checking in. The robot cannot go back until the question of what do people need is answered. But the answer to that question depends on who you ask and how. They're going to need to ask it a lot. Becky Chambers' new series asks, in a world where people have what they want, does having more matter? Okay. I know you guys are all aware that I've not really got on well with a lot of Becky Chambers books in the past. That's just how it is, right? But I'm not a closed-minded person, and I'm very much willing to check out her new stuff. And I will admit, I do like the sound of this premise. She does write these gentle, very optimistic stories that I know appeal to a great many folks. So, I guess we'll see what that one is all about. Comes out, as I said, on the 13th of July. And finally, on the 13th, we have a new anthology, which looks interesting. It's called Sword Stone Table. It's edited by Swapna Krishna and Jen Northington. And it says it's an anthology of gender-bent, race-bent, LGBTQ, plus and inclusive retellings from the vast lore surrounding King Arthur, Camelot, and the Knights of the Round Table. Here you'll find the Lady of the Lake reimagined as an albino Ugandan sorceress, and the Lady of Shalott as a wealthy, isolated woman in futuristic Mexico City. You'll see Excalibur rediscovered as a baseball bat that grants a washed-up minor leaguer a fresh shot at glory, and as a lost ceremonial drum that returns to a young First Nations boy the power and the dignity of his people. There are stories set in Gilded Age Chicago, 80s New York, 21st century Singapore, and space. There are lesbian lady knights, Arthur and Merlin reborn in the modern era for a second chance at saving the world and falling in love. Even a coffee shop AU. I guess alternate universe, I suppose? Yeah. Brave, bold, and groundbreaking, the stories in Sword Stone Table will bring fresh life to beloved myths and give longtime fans a chance to finally see themselves in their favorite legends. Okay. And so, comes out on the 13th of July, as I said, and the authors include Roshni Chokshi, Maria Davana Headley, Ozma Zianat Khan, Ken Liu, Sarah McLean, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Wobgashig Rice, Nisi Shawl, and many more. Now, moving on, July the 20th, we have a couple of books. The first of these is a new novella by Catherine M. Valente from Tor.com Books. It's called The Past is Red. It says it's the enchanting, dark, funny, angry story of a girl who made two terrible mistakes. She told the truth and she dared to love the world. The future is blue, endless blue, except for a few small places that float across the hot, drowned world left behind by long-gone fossil fuel guzzlers. One of these patches is a magical place called Garbage Town. Tetley Abednego is the most beloved girl in Garbage Town, but she's the only one who knows it. She's the only one who knows a lot of things, that Garbage Town is the most wonderful place in the world, that it's full of hope, that you can love someone and 66% hate them all at the same time. But Earth is a terrible mess, hope is a fragile thing, and a lot of people are very angry with her. Then Tetley discovers a new friend, a terrible secret, and more to her world than she ever expected. And that all happens in The Past is Red by Catherine Valente, out on July the 20th. Now, also on July the 20th, from Red Hook Publishing, Hachette Group, we have A Radical Act of Free Magic. This is by H.G. Parry, and it's the sequel to A Declaration of the Rights of Magicians. It's the second part of the Shadow Histories duology. And it says, in France, the brilliant young battle mage Napoleon Bonaparte has summoned a kraken from the depths, and under his command, the army of the dead have all but conquered Europe. Britain fights back, protected by the Gulf of the Channel and powerful fire magic, but Wilberforce's own battle to bring about free magic and abolition has met a dead end in the face of an increasingly fearful and repressive government. In Saint-Domingue, Fina watches as Toussaint Louverture, I'm sure I mangled that pronunciation, navigates these opposing forces to liberate the country. But there is another even darker war being fought beneath the surface, the first vampire war in hundreds of... Boy, everybody's in this book. The enemy blood magician who orchestrated Robespierre's downfall is using the Revolutionary Wars to bring about a return to dark magic to claim all of Europe. Across the world, only a few know of his existence, and the choices they make will shape the new age of magic. Okay, so that is A Radical Act of Free Magic. And it wraps up this duology on July the 20th from Red Hook Publishing. Now in August, we have what may be the final novel from Ben Bova, the hard science fiction author, classic author, editor, legend of the field, as it were. He died towards the end of last year, but this is the second novel in what he was planning as the Outer Worlds trilogy of his Grand Tour series, going through the entire solar system. And last year, Uranus came out. No, guys, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say Uranus. Okay. Anyway, that one came out last year. And this one is Neptune. Will be out on August the 17th. Hugo Award winner Ben Bova continues his grand tour of the human-settled solar system with a fan-pleasing look at life in the outer planets among the moons of Neptune. In the future, humanity has spread throughout the solar system on planets and moons once visited only by robots or explored at a distance by far-voyaging spacecraft. No matter how hostile or welcoming the environment, humanity has forged a path and found a home. In the far reaches of the solar system, the outer planets, billions of miles from Earth, unknown for millennia, are being settled. Neptune, the ice giant, is swathed in clouds of hydrogen, helium, and methane, encircled by rings of rock and dust. 3 years ago, Ilona Mager's father, Miklos, disappeared while exploring the seas of Neptune. Everyone believes he is dead, crushed, frozen, or boiled alive in Neptune's turbulent seas. With legendary space explorer Derek Humboldt piloting her ship and planetary scientist Jan Meitner guiding the search, Ilona Mager knows she will find her father alive on Neptune. Her plans are irrevocably altered when she and her team discover the wreckage of an alien ship deep in Neptune's ocean, a discovery which changes humanity's understanding of its future and its past. All right, and so that is Neptune. It will be out on August 17th, and I guess it remains to be seen whether or not Ben Bova managed to turn in Pluto to Tor Books, a manuscript for that, before he passed away. But either way, we get this one on the 17th of August. Now, on September the 14th, this is exciting. This one is coming out from Nightfire, which is Tor's new horror line. This is a new book by Brahm, an artist and author who writes these lovely oversized fantasy books and then lavishly illustrates them. This is a new book by him called Slewfoot. It says it's set in colonial New England. Slewfoot is a tale of magic and mystery, of triumph and terror, as only dark fantasist Brahm can tell it. Connecticut, 1666. An ancient spirit awakens in a dark wood. The wild folk call him Father, Slayer, Protector. The colonists call him Slewfoot, Demon, Devil. To Abatha, a recently widowed outcast, alone and vulnerable in her pious village, he is the only one she can turn to for help. Together they ignite a battle between pagan and Puritan, one that threatens to destroy the entire village. leaving nothing but ashes and bloodshed in their wake. If it is a devil you seek, then it is a devil you shall have. This terrifying tale of bewitchery features more than 24 of Brahms' haunting paintings, fully immersing readers in this wild and unforgiving world. And as I said, that is out from Nightfire on September the 14th. Now we have a couple of books in October, and this next one is really, really exciting for me. This is also out from Nightfire, and this is a new novella by Cassandra Khaw called Nothing But Blackened Teeth, which probably has my favorite cover of the year so far. I gotta admit. Let's see. This one says, Cassandra Khaw's Nothing But Blackened Teeth is a gorgeously creepy haunted house tale steeped in Japanese folklore and full of devastating twists. A Heian-era mansion stands abandoned, its foundations resting on the bones of a bride and its walls packed with the remains of the girls sacrificed to keep her company. It's the perfect venue for a group of thrill-seeking, thufferntuckatash. Anyway, a bunch of thrill-seeking friends brought back together to celebrate a wedding. A night of food, drinks, and games quickly spirals into a nightmare as secrets get dragged out and relationships are tested. But the house has secrets too. Lurking in the shadows is the ghost bride with a black smile and a hungry heart. And she gets lonely down there in the dirt. Effortlessly taking the classic haunted house story and turning it on its head, Nothing But Blackened Teeth is a sharp and devastating exploration of grief, the parasitic nature of relationships, and the consequences of our actions. And yeah, I'm fine with, a scary Japanese ghost lady just slaughtering a bunch of stupid teenagers in an old Japanese mansion. All right. But Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw from Nightfire on October the 19th. Now moving ahead, we've got one on the 26th of October. And this is a book called Bright Ruined Things. The author is Samantha Coho. And this one is a YA fantasy take on The Tempest. It says, the only life May has ever known, look at that pretty cover, the only life May has ever known is on the island, living on the charity of the wealthy Prosper family, who control the magic on the island and the spirits who inhabit it. May longs for magic of her own and to have a place among the Prosper family where her best friend Coco will see her as an equal, and her crush Miles will finally see her. Now that she's 18, May knows her time with the Prospers may soon come to an end. But tonight is first night, when the Prospers and their high society friends return to the island to celebrate the night Lord Prosper first harnessed the island's magic and started producing Aether, a magical fuel source that has revolutionized the world. With everyone returning to the island, May finally has the chance to go after what she has always wanted. When the spirits start inexplicably dying, May starts to realize that things aren't what they seem, and Ivo, the reclusive, mysterious heir to the Prosper magic, may hold all the answers, including a secret about May's past that she doesn't remember. As May and her friends begin to unravel the mysteries of the island and the Prosper's magic, May starts to question the truth of what her world was built on. In this YA fantasy, Samantha Coho wonderfully mixes magic and an atmosphere setting into a fantastically atmospheric setting. There we are, into a fantastically immersive world with characters you won't be able to forget. Looks kind of like it's, deco punk, fantasy from the cover design as well. So, very nice. October the 26th for that one. Okay, and finally, we have reached the end. The final book comes out on November the 9th. And it's also a YA. The author is Lauren Blackwood, and this is a book called Within These Wicked Walls, and it comes out from Wednesday Books. It says, Andromeda is a Deptera, an exorcist hired to cleanse households of the evil eye. She would be hired, that is, if her mentor hadn't thrown her out before she could earn her license. Now her only hope of steady work is to find a patron, a rich, well-connected individual who will vouch for her abilities. When a handsome young heir named Magnus Rochester, that's a perfect handsome young heir name, I have to say. Anyway, this guy reaches out to hire her. She takes the job without question. Never mind that he's rude and demanding and eccentric, that the contract comes with a number of outlandish rules, and that almost a dozen Deptera had quit before her. If Andromeda wants to earn a living, she has no choice. But she quickly realizes this is a job like no other, with horrifying manifestations at every turn, and that Magnus is hiding far more than she has been trained for. Death is the most likely outcome if she stays, the reason every Debterra before her quit. But leaving Magnus to live out his curse alone isn't an option because, heaven help her, of course, she's fallen for him. Stunningly romantic, Lauren Blackwood's heart-stopping debut within these wicked walls ushers in an exciting new fantasy voice. Okay. I mean, I like the concept, the premise of it. Sounds a little too romancy, perhaps, for me. But a lot of folks love that in the YA world. So 11/9, November the 9th, Within These Wicked Walls by Lauren Blackwood. Okay, there you have it. That's all I got for this mailbag this week. You guys know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these you would like to see me prioritize for review. Which of these look most interesting and exciting to you. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please hit the like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe. If you have not done so, that's how the channel grows. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's Army get little perks like early access on some of my videos. Got a couple of new guys this week, so I want to say thank you very much to them. I used the Patreon money to pay my channel artist, Matt Olson, for all of the lovely, wonderful thumbnails he does for me that help my channel stand out. So I want to thank all of those people for that support, especially during these tough times. I want to thank all the rest of you guys for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube, and until I see all of you next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy reading.